Howdy everyone, guys and gals. Welcome to this week's Fishing Chums Fishing Report and Show. All you chummers out there, God bless you. Thanks for being with us. We had thousands of views last week again, and that's remarkable for this time of the year because a lot of people kind of quit fishing. But there's a lot of us old diehards going to stay fishing all winter, and we're going to be right here talking about it. Hey, we have a good show for you today. My golly, some good photos. And we have a report, a photo of a new world record I want you to look at. And also I'm going to show you a photo of a $100,000 bass taken at Lake of the Ozarks. So that's going to be fun. And we have some pretty good reports to pass on to you as well. I want to take care of just a little bit of business here before we get started. You know, we have, if you haven't heard about it, our Fishing Chums group on Facebook. Boy, it's a lot of fun. And we want you to join. It's absolutely free, and it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And we get together, we share photos, we share fishing information, and just have a lot of fun on our group page. So I want you to subscribe. Hey, we'll have a lot of fun with it this winter, that's for sure. All right, let's get going here. I can't wait to show you some of these photos. Let's go out to Beaver Lake. You know, Beaver Lake and Beaver Dam is just great fishing out there. And they're waiting for November. I know a lot of those guys out there are waiting on the main lake for the striper run starting in November, and we'll be here talking about that when it happens. They're catching a few out there, but let's go down below the dam. And I tell you what, that water coming out of Beaver Dam is cold, and it runs through the White River arm into Table Rock Lake. But up there in Arkansas by that dam, and they float on down a ways, you can have some fabulous trout fishing right now. And they've been catching a lot of trout. And you can catch walleye on occasion, smallmouth bass, white bass. But our old friend Richard Lee Rusher, he's been guiding all week out there, and boy, they've been catching a lot of limits of fish. And Custom Advantage Guide Service. Boy, if you ever need a guided trip down there, I promise you, you will not be disappointed with Richard Lee and Lisa. So Richard Lee, let's see this photo from Bradshaw, this young man you had out a couple days ago. Look at this photo and look at this beautiful smile from Bradshaw. That's what it's all about. Gosh, I love to take kids fishing. Good going, Richard Lee. Now they're catching a lot of trout down there. I just had a report. They're catching them on spoons. They've been picking them up on some power eggs, Berkeley power eggs. I heard orange was good, pink, white. And they've been picking up some fish on crankbaits, of course. But I heard some nice fish have been caught on spoons. So get out there, man. Get out there and catch some trout down below the dam. It's been real fun the last few days. Out on the main lake, I talked a little bit about the striper fishing. They're still catching fish at the lower end points. And I've heard they're kind of scattering right now. But the guys are going out working for them, but when they do find them with some shad, always look for the shad. You can drop some live bait down there and occasionally get into some nice stripers. And as I mentioned, boy, I fished there several times in November, and this is when the fishing really gets fun, and we'll be keeping on top of that. Had some fair crappie reports out at Beaver this week. They're catching them anywhere from 15, 20, maybe even 25 feet of water on the submerged brush piles. And it seems like with your electronics, if you can cruise these edges of the flats and the channels, if you can find some isolated brush piles, that seems to be a little bit better. Minnows have been the best bait there. Picking up a few largemouth, some spots and smallmouth. There was a little bit of a topwater bite early in the morning at Beaver. Topwater fishing, it seems like some buzz baits have been working, some whopper ploppers and this type of bait. Just use the topwater bait that you're comfortable with. I tell you what, I wouldn't overlook the popper either. The popping baits have been doing good. And what else? Few catfish, I understand, have been caught up in the river on some of the flats out there on cut shad. So Beaver looks good for the upcoming weekend. The weather looks good. And Richard Lee and Lisa, have fun down there. I know you'll have some clients out this weekend. All right, you talking about stripers, guys. Woo boy, you want to see a new world record? Here we go. A new world record was caught in Virginia. A striper bass, just about 83 pounds. Look at this fish. Now, I tell you what, this fish would drag you around in the boat. I promise you that. That is a heck of a fish. coming out of Virginia. Some of the guides on stripers, on beaver said, well, we might have one that big on our lake too. We have some awful big stripers there. But anyway, congratulations to a new striped world record out in Virginia. Here's another photo I want to show with you, gang. Oh boy. Congratulations to Cole Anderson. He's from Bentonville, Arkansas. 22 years old. Never fished Lake of the Ozarks before. Last week, the Lake of the Ozarks had the Big Bass Bash. Say that real fast. Big Bass Bash. And they give away prizes, I think, every hour. But at the end of the 2 days, the weekend, whoever catches the largest bass, it's $100,000. Look at this photo again. Cole Anderson, young man. This fish was over 6.5, 6 3/4 pound, right in that range. And that's a $100,000 bass. Good going. My golly, that's a good fish. All right, let's go out to Table Rock. It's been pretty fair fishing. It's not gangbusters right now, but they've been picking up some fish early in the morning and late in the evening on topwater. Whopper floppers have been working, some spooks have been working, your pop-R type bait's been working. Just use your favorite topwater bite. And as I mentioned, when you get out, and sometimes these topwater fish can be a little finicky, be sure to have another rod rigged up with a swim bait. And if it misses it, you don't want to come back for it, pick up that swim bait. And I like to use a horse head with a spinner, this photo right here. And then I'll count that out where the fish, count it down where that fish come up and I missed him on a topwater bait, maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 feet of water. Then I just slow roll it in. And a lot of times you'll catch that fish. So a little topwater fishing, a little swim bait fishing, you'll get it. So, hey, speaking of swim baits, Cole Anderson caught that $100,000 fish bass on a swim bait, a Kevin Van Dam swim bait, a big one, I understand. Okay, so topwater fishing, early morning, late evening hours at Table Rock, you can get into them. It's not real consistent, but boy, you have a chance of picking up some topwater fish. Now, out on the main lake, I've had reports of shaky heads working this week, a few Ned Red. I'm not saying you're going out there and kill them. You got to work for these fish. It's tough fishing, but you can catch them on shaky heads, Ned rigs. Some people are going out on those long points and doing some drop shot fishing as well. And I've had good reports this week of jig fishing, dragging jigs off the points. So you may want to try that. And some dock fishing, pitching jigs around some of the docks as well. Had some fair reports, just a couple reports on walleye this week. It's at Table Rock. It's slowed down a little. Did get a nice photo from up on the White River. And they don't seem to be so much on the points like they were. They're more on the old White River channel. And you just want to use your electronics and kind of cruise these channels back and forth and see if you can see any activity. You might drop down a night crawler, or you might troll, just kind of troll a Berkeley flicker shad or minnow. And don't overlook a spoon or a grub as well. Crappie fishing's been fair. They're up in the rivers. This is nothing new this time of the year. Catching fish anywhere from 15 to 25 feet of water. If you have a good isolated brush pile, get down there. Minnows seem to be better than jigs. Some people are using jig and minnows. And I've had a report of a few crappie being caught around some of the docks. So get out at Table Rock this week. I think there's a good big bass tournament or two this weekend out at Table Rock. Okay, let's go out to Lake Taneycomo. The water temperature was 56 degrees out there with all that cold water coming out of Table Rock Dam. When they're not running any water, the fly fishing has really been good again this week. But when they are running water, they're catching fish on a variety of baits. Don't overlook that night crawler. I'm telling you that dragging a night crawler can be really good right now at Lake Taneycomo. And they've been picking up some fish on power eggs, Berkeley power eggs. Pink's been good, orange has been good, white's been fair. And they've been picking up some fish on spoons too, little Cleo spoons. And hey, look at this photo coming from our good friends out at Trout Hollow Lodge. Boy, there's been a lot of nice trout caught off the dock at Trout Hollow this last few days. Nice. Look at this young lady. Ooh, boy, beautiful photo. And the docks are reporting some pretty good morning fishing on night crawlers or even some power eggs out at Lake Taneycomo. Okay, let's go out to Bull Shoals. You know, Bull Shoals, the walleye fishing slowed down a little bit. It's been kind of sketchy. They're working for the few they're catching. The crappie, though, boy, the boys are going out and working at the crappie, finding isolated brush piles, anywhere from 20, 25, 30, 35 feet of water, getting down there straight line and jigging minnows or come minnows with nice crappie when they do get into them. In fact, Trevor Hale was out the other day out at Bull Shoals. Good going, chummer. Good going, my friend. And so the crappie fishing can be good. Not many people crappie fishing, but the ones who are getting out there and working at and finding these brush piles, again, the isolated brush piles, especially if there's any shad in the area, you get down there, straight line it, jig, put that minnow down there. Bass fishing's been pretty good. We've had some pretty good reports of topwater fishing in the morning hours. Some nice smallmouth have been caught this week out at Bull Shoals. Morning hours, your plopping baits like a whopper, plopper, buzz baits can work. If there's no wind at all, I'd go to a spook and also a popper type bait. That's morning hours and evening hours. A lot of shad balling up right now out at Bull Shoals, like most of the lakes. And these fish are starting to move a little bit to the creek areas. So you want to start fishing the creek areas about a third, halfway back, maybe all the way back, flipping some brush piles with jigs and also some Texas-style plastic worms and swim baits out there. Out on the main lake, the spotted bass are really kind of balled up at times off the deep water points. Just use your electronics and find those shad. You'll find the fish. Drop shot fishing can be good. And we've had some reports of some spoon fishing out there as well. A few fish have been coming off the bluff ends out at Bull Shoals as well. Okay, other than that, let's go out where we're going to Stockton Lake. Stockton looks pretty good. Water temperature is around 69 degrees out there. And I want to back up a little bit out at Beaver. I didn't give you the water temperature, anywhere from 69 to 72 or 3. Table Rock, same way. I was out the other day, it was 68 degrees. It got up to around 71. And Taneycomo 56, Bull Shoals 78 to 71. Stockton, a little cooler out there. It was, I had reports 68 degrees. And look at Sean Smith. Sean's a good bass fisherman. He fishes out at Stockton a great deal. Crankbaits are really coming on. Well, they have been on. And that's a beautiful smallmouth bass, Sean. Good going, my friend. And so on these points for bass, square bill crankbaits, I've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks. They really can be productive. Also in some of the brush piles off the points and secondary points, jig fishing can be fairly productive, swim baits. And at times you can do a little bit of a top water bite in the morning and late evening hours, buzz baits, whopper plopper type baits and poppers. And so there's been some nice bass caught out at Stockton this week for the few people that's been out there fishing. And let's see, Tandem Fly Guide Service, great bunch of guys out at Stockton, great guides. They've been going out this week really getting into the crappie. I'm telling you, look at this photo from Tandem Fly Guide Service. Look at these guys, are very happy. They got their limits, I think, with these boys the last 2 days. And so the crappie, I've had about 3 different reports on the crappie. Some people are just tight lining the standing timber and the brush piles with minnows, catching fish. Other people are getting out there doing the spider rigging or trolling crankbaits. They've been picking up some fish on the flicker minnow, Berkeley trolling bait, also some bandits. So I think if you get out there this weekend, you make an effort, you can catch some crappie out at Stockton, just like the Tandem Fly Guide Service boys did, that's for sure. Walleye fishing's really been spotty this week. I've been catching some short fish. And by the way, the crappie, getting into the crappie, you have to wade through a lot of fish. There's a lot of short crappie being caught too. But if you stick with it, like the boys did here, you can catch some nice keepers, as you've seen in that photo. But the walleye are just kind of on the points, some of the flat edges and the secondary points, but you really have to work for them. You're going to go through a lot of short fish to catch a keeper, but that can happen. They've been using bottom bouncers with night crawlers. A few people have been trolling once in a while, picking up the fish. Other people are just vertically fishing a night crawler just barely off the bottom. And it's been a little slow though. Okay, let's go out to Pomme de Terre, the photo of the week. A chummer buddy of mine, good friend of mine, Jordan Lear. He fishes all these Ozark lakes, and this is our photo of the week. He was out just had a little bit of time, went out the other day at Pomme de Terre, threw a whopper plopper out in about 3 to 5 feet of water. Boom, look at this fish. I think it went over 6 pounds. Wow, 6.5 pounds, something like that. But whatever, it's a beautiful, beautiful fish. Good going, Jordan. Man, you're my man. You're the guy. Well, they have had some fair crappie fish. Let's back up to Pomme de Terre. Water temperature out there was 67 this morning. Wow, it'll climb a little bit during the afternoon. Now the crappie, some people are catching them, as shallow as 12 to 15 feet of water. Other people are finding them in deeper water, as deep as 25 feet of water. Minnows are the best. You have to just keep searching the brush piles, and there's no one area I could just sick you onto to go get them. You just go out there. I'd fish the lower 1/3 of the lake and mid-lake area, but just find these brush piles, and you have a chance of picking up some nice crappie out at Pomme de Terre. One real nice muskie was caught out there again on a big bucktail spinner, big bladed spinner this week near a dock out at Pomme de Terre. And bass fishing, well, Jordan had that big bass. They're catching them on top water in the morning and late evening hours. They've been doing some swim baits and crankbaits as well. Square bill crankbaits, regular crankbaits off the points out there. So looks like pretty good for Pommy. Let's go out to Truman Lake. They're still catching crappie at Truman. My gosh, what a crappie factory that Truman Lake is. Whew. If you want a good fall fishing trip, get a hold of one of the guides out at Truman. There's several of them, several very good fishing guides out there. They can get you in some good fish. I've had most of my good reports of the better fish be coming out of the river areas at Truman. And anywhere from 8 to 12 feet of water. Minnows have been the best. And out on the big lake, out on the main lake, on some of the bluffs, some crappie are starting to show up on the bluff areas like they do this time of the year. Bluff ends, mid-bluff areas, just get after your locator and zigzag the bluffs so you see big balls of shad. There will be a few crappie in that area as well. And so the crappie, I tell you, I want to show you this picture. Darren Anderson, he has a guide service out at Truman. He consistently gets into crappie. Look at this photo. This is just a couple days ago, guys, gals. So they are catching some really good quality crappie out at Truman. My golly, I got to get out there, And let's see, one other report on Truman. If you want to get in some hybrids and white bass fishing, I've talked about this the last 3 weeks on the program. Down by the dam, sometimes they're coming up surfacing. That's a lot of fun. And of course the old standby over on KK Island near Osage Bluff Marina, or in that area. They've really been catching some nice hybrids. Sometimes they're coming up. They might not be staying up very long, but you can spoon fish them. And some people are using some live bait, shad or live bait, just a straight line fishing for them. But when they're coming up, chasing them, boy, that's a lot of fun. Okay, let's go out to Lake of the Ozarks. Of course, they had that Lake of the Ozarks Big Bass Bash. I got it over this past weekend. A lot of people out there fishing, and once again, I want to congratulate Cole Anderson. Man, $100,000 bass. Now, the shad are starting to move to the creek areas, and so a lot of these bass are being caught midway to even the end of the creek areas out to Lake of the Ozarks. They're catching them on swim baits. They've been picking up fish on jigs. They've been picking up some fish on slow roll and spinner baits and crank baits. And so you may want to try Lake of the Ozarks this weekend for bass fishing. Sounds good. Crappie, I tell you what, the docks, like they've been there the last couple of weeks. They've been on the big docks in at least 25, 30, 35 feet of water around the docks, the deep water docks. And get out there in the morning and throw some jigs, skip some jigs in there. You can pick up some fish. Other people are getting, when the sun gets up, they're getting over in the shade and just straight lining minnows picking up fish. And out on the main lake, the crappie are still there suspended. They haven't moved back yet. And so find them with your locators, find the shad, find the fish, and you can do some spider rigging or working with your trolling baits like bandits. And of course flickered minnows as well. Some people have been pipelining minnows in these areas as well. And they've been picking up some nice catfish up the Osage River arm up towards the Truman Dam on cut shad. Starting to get a little bit better. In fact, I had a report at Truman that's been a little spotty the last few weeks, but the cats are really starting to move a little bit better this week on the flats with cut shad. Water temperature at Lake the Ozarks this morning was 69 degrees, and Truman, if I didn't tell you, was around 70, 71 degrees. Let's wrap this thing up out at Norfolk Lake, over on the Missouri-Arkansas border. Has been pretty good fishing. Not great fishing, I shouldn't say that. It's been spotty. They've been working for the fish at Norfolk. In the morning hours, you can get a little bit of a topwater bite. In fact, you may see some spots and bass chasing shad and some white bass too early in the morning. For topwater fishing, your pop-R type baits have been working the best, and they've been using maybe a smaller buzz bait, and they've been slow rolling spinner baits, and but they just come up for a brief time, then they go back down. Other than that, when you want to go bass fishing, I do some crankbait fishing off the points and secondary points, and they've been picking up some fish, like I said, on swim baits too, but you have to work for them. Been a little slow. Stripers have been kind of slow the last few weeks. We all know that at Norfolk, but they're starting to move a little bit with this cooler weather. I've had reports you can find them off the deep water flats and deep water points. They may be in 35 to 40 feet of water, over 100 feet of water. And so get down there, spoons or some live bait. And that's about it for the day. I want to thank you very much for being with us here. Be sure to like and share over on YouTube and subscribe there, Kathy. And of course on Facebook we have thousands of viewers, and like I mentioned here, don't overlook our Facebook page, guys. Join us. We have a lot of fun doing that. And this is the best place to send photos in. Get right to me this way. If you join our Facebook group, Fish and Chums group page, you can send us photos and we'll have them right in. And be sure to, when you do send photos in, be sure to tell me what lake you caught that fish on. A lot of people send photos in and I don't know where you caught them. Be sure to tell me where you caught those fish. I won't tell anybody. And so thank you very much for being with us. If I don't see you out on the lake this weekend, I'll see you right back here next week. Tell your friends about our show. We have a lot of fun here on Fish and Chums. God bless you all. Kathy, roll those photos.